are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is the best Rhode Island long snapper in the 2000s, maybe?
2010s, because I was done in 2020. Sure, let's go with that one. I think that works.
Okay. Best Rhode Island long snapper in the 2010s.
We're moving the goalposts every time. That's all that matters.
Well, we'll find our sweet spot eventually. But a good show in store for you here tonight.
Yes, sir.
On the Ruffino and Joe show. Joe, going to be a lot of Kirby Smart talk and Georgia. Jalen Carter has Kirby Smart lost control of his program. I think it's a little bit insane to me.
I think we're on
two opposite sides.
We're not two opposite sides because I don't think it's a complete lack of control, but I think there are some red flags that we are going to dive in on today's show. Some of the things that we kind of disagree on, but nevertheless, there have been some problems this offseason that we need to talk about. We need to react to the way that he phrased it, which I'm not very happy with.
Well, look, we'll just get into it. I mean, there are just situations and scenarios, okay, that I think that people are overblowing a little bit. That's just me. I think it's being a little bit overblown. But what do I know? The only thing that I know is if he's losing control, normally what happens when you start losing control, Ed Orgeron's what happens. Okay?
Kirby's not chasing after married women.
Well, she wasn't married. Actually, believe it or not, Bailey Lauderdale worked with my wife, Megan, believe it or not.
Was that I don't really know the
one that the viral picture went around. Yeah, she's from like 2 miles up the road.
That's hilarious.
Like she lives 2 miles up the road from us. So I mean, hilarious. Not really when Ed Orgeron is in a private school parking lot the night before he plays or the day before he plays Alabama. That's not cool at all. But
he's getting after it.
Again, we've seen coaches lose control before.
Yeah.
AKA Urban Meyer at Florida. Okay. So Urban didn't have this kind of success when he was losing control. So we will talk about that here today. Joe, you need to start listening to me.
I do sometimes. It's selective hearing, as I've always said.
You know what's funny? The last time we talked about realignment, what did Big Daddy say about the Big 12 and the Pac-12?
I don't remember it because I only listen to things I want to hear.
I told you that sources are confirming the merger of the Pac-12 and the Big 12. But you were like, no, Blake, it's the ACC and the Pac-12.
Wait. I didn't say that. I just liked the idea of a merger in general. And I think that that's what we're going to address later on in the show. But the idea of the merger is important. And we've got a little more evidence here today that we're going to get to.
I've been trying to give you evidence for 3 weeks. I don't know what to tell you at this point.
You. I trust you now. I 100% trust you.
Do you Nautica shirt? I mean, like what? I mean, what's going on here?
What do you mean?
First off,
yeah.
Let me take this back because Nautica. How do you say that? The shirt you're wearing?
Nautica.
Okay. So they're a great company. Okay. Yeah. But you moved the figure 8 ball. Okay. The magic 8 ball. You moved it. So there's not a lot of things I can say anymore to make fun of you.
You know what they say? My former roommate who was an offensive lineman, you know what they say about Nautica, or what he would say about Nautica? It's just polo for fat people.
Pretty accurate.
What, do you own a lot of Nautica?
No, I actually don't own any.
Oh.
Dude, if it's not a Columbia fishing shirt or an Adidas Southeastern like pullover or whatever it is, I don't.
It's outside of the wardrobe
or hunting gear. I don't wear it. Now, my wife does get upset with me because I have a closet full of 3-piece suits, but when Daddy wants to clean up, Daddy cleans up. Okay, like people were making fun of me a couple weeks ago because I wore all black tux and black and white J's. You know, like I rolled up to the club.
That's a good fit.
I mean, big man's got swag too. Big man's got swag too. And you know what else, Joe? If we have time tonight, we will get into the Big-12 Pro Day. I don't know if that we will have time in that, but if we do, we'll get to it at the end of the show. Let me give some very quick updates really quickly, Joe. I have found my new favorite recruit
in the 2024 cycle.
In the 2024 cycle.
Who is it?
Air Noland.
Is it just because of the name?
Well, yes, but it wasn't the name. It wasn't about the name until I saw that he was a left-handed quarterback.
Oh my God! So I didn't know that part. First of all, the Air, is that his real name?
Yeah,
I saw
Air Noland. Air Noland. By the way, Arkansas, stand up, Sam Pittman. Hey,
dude, if he doesn't get
throwing a little recruiting news at you, Joe. Air Noland. Hey, what about Kendall Browse leaving and going to TCU? Here comes Air Noland.
Big recruits. They're getting big recruits. Dude, if he doesn't get a Nike NIL deal, a separate Nike NIL deal,
it would be a travesty.
That's a match made in heaven.
He needs his own signature cleat, which, by the way, I want to watch that movie Air. Do you see it with Ben Affleck and what's his name? Ben Affleck and
Matt Damon. No.
It's Matt Damon.
Yeah, it's Matt Damon.
I want to see that. So Air Noland, I found my new favorite recruit in the 2024 cycle. I love left-handed quarterbacks. I love them. Okay. And he can move. He can really
unsuccessful though.
Oh, that's true. That's not necessarily true because Tua Tagovailoa says, "Hey, how are you doing?" As Little Wayne,
he's one donk on the head away from retirement. I don't know if
Steve Young had 7. He said that he had 17 concussions.
Yeah, but he didn't suffer the same level of the second impact syndrome. So that's where.
Yeah. So about that, are you a big guy in fighting?
Yeah, I'm into. I watch MMA. I'm not super into it.
All right, he's gonna be okay. Now, is he gonna have CTE maybe down the road?
Is he? Possibly. Yeah, he's gonna be having a tough time when he's 40.
I mean, Mike Tyson is still there. As an example. So I mean, look, it's all relative. All right. Also, some big news coming out of Missouri. Their spring game is going indoors. It is absolutely freezing out there in Mizzou. Their spring game will be going indoors. Pretty much all due to the weather. The media, family, and recruits are the only ones allowed at Eli Drinkwitz' spring game. Joe, I'm kind of okay with it.
Because who was going to the Missouri spring game anyways? I mean, I don't think the expectations are that high that anyone's showing up getting excited.
Well, here's my thing. Okay. And here's the ultimate thing. You know what happens when nobody gets to see your spring game? You get to actually run some things you want to really run. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And so I like Brian Kelly. We went to this press conference the other day, and he's like, guys, we might do a 7-on-7. Okay.
For the spring game.
Yeah. Like he goes, we might do some individual drills. Like we might go O-line versus D-line run game. We might go O-line versus D-line pass pro. We might go 7-on-7, and then we might call it a day. We might run some run game. Joe, so let me get a little technical. So what we call team, right?
Yeah.
Like we have team. So for those who don't know, team is just when you go full either 1-on-1s or 1-on-2s. And he's like, we might do that in the team run, okay? And so, Joe, I'm okay with that. I don't need to see because, like, as an example, okay, Alabama last year, Aaron Anderson led the team in catches with 17, and he didn't have a catch the entire season. Okay, like,
yeah,
you get to a point where it's like, does it really matter?
There's the notorious Charlie. I think it was Charlie Brewer at the Utah spring game.
It was Charlie Brewer.
He was like 19 for 19 or something crazy like that. And everyone's like, wow, look out for this guy. And then he
touchdowns.
And he stunk. And he got beat out by Cam Rising. So like that's I think more and more the spring game lacks importance. I mean, heck, oh my God, I'm completely blanking on who's the Eric Gilbert is somebody who everyone was geeking out over on his performance.
Yeah, that's a little bit different.
I know it is, but you get to see him on the field. It's like, wow, this is what we could get. And then he doesn't even end up playing. So the impact is just far less significant.
I agree with that. All right, so let's do this. Let's get to our good friends over at betonline.ag. We're going to be back in 51 seconds. Let's talk Kirby's. Golly, this indigestion, man. Let's talk about Kirby Smart in Georgia. Joe, we're probably going to spend almost the entire show talking about this, and I'm looking forward to it. So stay tuned. We're back in 50 seconds. Talk some Georgia. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. We're back. Hold. Texas, no, you're not. Let me just say this. I am absolutely pumped now. Absolutely pumped. Breaking from Adam Schefter. Jamal Williams is a Saint. Yeah, baby.
I hate this for the Lions, by the way. This sucks that they're letting him go. I don't know why they let him go, but I don't know if this really.
He is the season leader in rushing touchdowns in a season for the Lions. Oh, by the way, they had Barry Sanders. Dude, I am a Jamal Williams stan. I am a Jamal Williams stan account.
Does he fix the problems?
No, not even remotely close. But you know what? It does fit their culture of what they do offensively, though. They like to run the ball right at you, and the Saints are just a tough-nosed team. Jamal Williams, welcome to Louisiana. We call it that, boot. All right, but you're not here to listen to the NFL. You're here to talk about and listen to some college football. So today, Georgia had, Joe, their pro day. And look, Kirby Smart was asked a lot of questions. They've had allegedly have had 9 players arrested over the last 14 months. 2 of those players, most notably being Jalen Carter in the incident with the racing and the wreck that killed 2 people and left 2 injured. And then Stetson Bennett with a drunken disorderly. He was asked today if he had lost control of his program, and he says, and I quote, "There is no lack of control at our program. Our guys make mistakes. They are 18 to 22-year-olds. Well, not Stetson's not. But at the same time, Stetson also wasn't he also wasn't a Georgia Bulldog, okay, when he got arrested. So let's make that well known. Your thought, and then today, Jalen Carter comes in 9 pounds heavier than when he did at his pro day. Joe, I don't think that that's a big deal, because if you know anything about offense and defensive linemen, okay, let me start off by saying this. When it comes to somebody's weight, especially on the line, okay, to me, it's not that big of a deal, okay? Mainly because if it's just a weight issue, which it's not, but if it's just a weight issue, buddy, I know, like, my body. Like, I know for a fact, Joe, for me, no matter how skinny or fat that I am, I will fluctuate 10 pounds on any given day. Any given day, I fluctuate 10 pounds. Okay, now, should he been more cautious? Should he have done more? Maybe. But you know who you're getting with Jalen Carter.
Yeah, let's dive into the Jalen Carter pro day stuff first. But I agree with the weight fluctuation thing. I'm not really worried about the 9 pounds. It sounds worse than it actually is. When I was at my heaviest, I was at like 220, and my weight didn't fluctuate 9 pounds, but it would often fluctuate 5 or 6 pounds on a day-to-day basis, depending on how tough the workout was, what I ate the night before, how much water I drank. The weight thing doesn't matter for a massive body like this, but where the concern is, and if you watch the workout, he doesn't run his 40, and there's just all these clips circulating from the workout.
Why should he?
But it has nothing to do with the 40. there are clips that have circulated of him doing these defensive lineman drills, and the dude is out of shape. The dude is very clearly out of shape. And I'm not talking physically. He's got the same body type that he had in his time at Georgia. You're not going to fall out of shape in 2 months and look sloppy fat. That was how he was built. But he could barely finish these drills where he's ducking in and out of pads. He is moving really slow. He is dogging it. I don't know why he's shirtless during these drills. He just looked very out of place. I'm not saying he looked pedestrian because I think he still looks like an elite NFL talent, the way that he can move. But the fact that he couldn't complete this workout is a concern for me. I will give him this, though. I will say that with everything that's been going on over the past month, it has probably been so difficult for him mentally. He's probably had less time to prepare and do his actual combine and pro day prep training, which is a full day's worth of work. You are there from 7 a.m. to sometimes 6 or 7 p.m. just doing workouts. And when you have to take time away to go and meet with lawyers, to go meet with law enforcement, it is difficult. And it's also probably weighing on him mentally. I will give him that much, but it is still concerning that this is how he came to the workout. And there's also continually more and more things, just murmurs that I have heard of him having off the field character concerns. I can't really speak on what those are exactly because
just go with the Todd McShay thing. I mean,
what Todd McShay said, I have heard that a lot of that stuff is confirmed separate from the incident with the vehicle and the arrest warrant for the reckless driving stuff. There are some concerns in how he carries and handles himself.
Which he denied, by the way, pretty emphatically.
Okay, Jalen denied that.
Yeah, his attorney emphatically denied that.
Yeah, a lot of people have gone to bat to defend him, but it's very concerning the more you hear about Jalen Carter. I'm not saying this is a guy who's going to go undrafted. That's not going to happen. But he could slide out of the top 10 and somebody else could end up taking him because they don't want to miss out.
He's going to slide out of the top 10.
I think it's more possible than we think.
Hey, you've done this to me a couple times now. Do you want to try the third? He ain't falling out the top 10. I'm just telling you. You want to try me on this one? You want to bet a steak? You want to bet a steak dinner?
Yeah, let's bet a steak dinner.
Don't do it because listen, buddy, I'm gonna literally bankrupt you. Don't do it.
SEC Media Day. I will bet you a steak.
Don't do it, Joe.
I will bet you a steak. I will bet you a steak. Let's do it.
Bet you goes 8, 9, or 10.
If he goes 10, that means he fell out. If he goes 10, that means he fell out.
No, I don't necessarily agree with that because sometimes teams have need and sometimes teams trade up. If what you did, okay, so let me get my thoughts on this.
Yeah.
If what you did in your mock draft and the Colts move up and the Raiders move up and yada, yada, yada moves up, no, he can fall to 10. Look, you kind of guys, and I mean you kind of guys, meaning draft guys, y'all literally this time last year, I can pull the receipts. Oh, what's the kid from Tennessee? Malik. He went to Tennessee. Not Malik Cunningham.
What position?
The quarterback, Malik, the kid from Liberty.
Oh, Malik Willis.
Malik Willis going in the first round. Malik Willis this, Malik Willis that. Malik Willis is going to be a top 15 pick. He goes in the third round. Jalen Carter's not falling out the top 10. Joe, let me tell you something about draft guys and draft people. I love you to death. Now, don't tell people on the show this, but I do love you to death.
Thank you.
I promise you this. Put on the film.
Do you want to know what I graded him? So I have a grading
number one
system.
overall.
I have a grading system where it's top 25, top 50, top 100.
You put him at 1. I know you did.
I gave him a top 1 grade. Him and Will Anderson have a top 1 grade. They can't have higher grades.
He is the best interior defensive lineman we've seen since Aaron Donald. Going into the
He's
draft.
a better prospect than Aaron Donald coming out. Because
I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
He's bigger than Aaron Donald, though. That's the thing.
Being bigger is not being a better prospect.
I know.
Because Aaron Donald had more pressures at Pitt. By the way, His defensive coordinator, Matt House, LSU. Nevertheless, okay.
Aaron Donald was a later riser, though. He rose after his Senior Bowl performance.
Not true. It was
he still went at 11.
No, well, true, but close to the top 10, was it not? And he was undersized. What's Jalen Carter? So
that's my point. Is that Jalen's going to go is good enough to go higher than him?
He's going to go in the top 10.
Yeah.
My point with this is, Joe. Can I just be blunt with you? Who gives a shit that he had an issue working out? They know what's going on. They know who he is. He's 330 pounds, for crying out loud. Look.
I just think some NFL teams take this stuff very seriously.
They don't. You want my phone? You want my phone? They don't.
I would love to have your phone and some of the contacts.
I bet you would. They don't. Joe, I will promise you, as God is my witness, I have 4 text messages within the last 2 hours that literally said, you want me to read one of them? I'm not going to tell you the person. You want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Here it is. Say I got to go all the way down. He sends me the link from this, I guess, Twitter person. I don't know who this is. NFL Rumors. And he says something about NFL teams being highly discouraged on Jalen Carter. This person in the local South area says that's complete horseshit. We will take him at 10. But they don't have a top 10 pick.
Right.
He's just saying, he says that's bullshit. We'll take him in the top 10. And it's like, so I guess you don't worry about his workout. He goes, no, because he literally ran. This is what he says. And he was at his pro day today. He goes, he literally didn't get a break between his first and 7th drill. That's what he said. He said,
why aren't other guys gassed though? Like, why aren't other guys?
Because apparently they got breaks. He said he went from drill to drill to drill. It looked like he was doing a circuit. This is what he's saying, who's at the pro day. So again, you're talking about a guy that's gassed, that's running for 5 straight minutes. And you know what these drills don't test for? Okay, let me tell you what they don't test for. How long is an average NFL play?
5 seconds.
3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Guess what he ain't gonna be doing? Running a 20-second drill. Okay.
But here's another thought here, though. What dumbass, and if it's Jalen Carter, had him running continuous nonstop drills? Because that's stupid.
They asked him to do it. Whoever was running it was doing it. Now,
had to be the strength coach then?
No, Kirby doesn't run that. The NFL, they don't run those pro days. I think sometimes they give it like, who's the guy with the Steelers who's always with the 40? He does it, and they get some defensive line people in the NFL, whatever. It is what it is. I think we're trying to overblow. And you know what? Let me ask you this question. What if the Atlanta Journal-Constitution wouldn't have ran what is allegedly a wrong story? Okay. Mm-hmm. A wrong story, even though he got, I guess, technically arrested. What if it comes out to be true, or comes out and the truth of all of this was he didn't break the law? So then what? In this country, we're innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
Okay. You know why people are freaking out about this pro day? Because of him being arrested. That's the reason y'all are freaking out about this.
I disagree on that, because after digesting the arrest situation, and after I talked to you about it and you broke it down, I don't look into it as deeply as
maybe you don't.
I do think that the media is very bad at oftentimes, and we've talked about on the show about understanding how certain things impact draft stock. I agree with that. I think general NFL reporters are bad at that. And like those stupid NFL rumors accounts have no information. They're just aggregating information, or they're making assumptions and hoping that nobody fact checks them. But I think that NFL draft people understand the significance of all this. I just think that the information that I've been given on how he handles himself off the field and in the locker room, and also on top of that, the way that he has showed up at this pro day, I don't get why that they had him run that much. It doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe we're overanalyzing this. Maybe we are.
You know what? You know what that same person told me?
What?
You're going to hate this. he said the same thing about people overanalyzing Anthony Richardson. Okay, and I asked him,
like they're propping him up too much.
Correct. He goes, he says, Blake, again, Joe, you're a football guy. I think you need to start acting like, buddy.
I am a football guy. What?
I know, but dude, the last time we saw him, he went 9 of 27. You know what also happened when a guy went 9 of 27 in the last game that they played in college? The guy's name was Troy Smith.
That is not a great.
It's not a great comp. Now, Troy Smith didn't run a 4.4, he ran a 4.52, but nevertheless, I mean, what are we splitting hairs here? Okay, like, so we get to a point where we're focusing. So are we going to take for Jalen Carter?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to take a bad pro day, and say everything that he did on film wasn't worth it? So
but here's the reality of it though, Blake. It's a questionable pro day if the way it was run.
What about guys that have great pro days and then go to the NFL and are booty?
But it's
Zach Wilson.
Adding all of the things up that have happened over this period of time. And yes, there are some NFL teams,
which goes back to my point on him being arrested. Outside of the off the field noise.
Yeah.
What has he shown you on the field?
He's shown me on the field that he is unblockable. That is what he's shown to me, that there are such rare instances of guys who can command the line of scrimmage the way that he does and make tackles with offensive linemen trying to block him and holding the point of attack at the line of scrimmage. Like, the guys can't do what he does, make tackles with one arm and to pass rush the way that he does. Look, plain and simple, I think he's still a first-round pick. I think there's some dumb people out there that are pushing the narrative that he's going to fall out of the first round. I don't think that's likely at all. I'm saying that it's possible. I'm not saying he will 1,000% slide out of the top 10, but I think that there is a stronger possibility than some are willing to consider. I think that it is a chance, especially if the first 4 picks are quarterbacks, that chance is now increased for him to possibly slide out of the top 10. But you know what's probably going to happen is he's going to slide, and then a team that notoriously picks these guys and has tremendous success with them is going to get him. So like the Ravens or the Chiefs or the Eagles are going to end up with him, and we're going to be sitting there after the first 10 weeks of the season.
The Eagles do have the Saints' first overall pick. Now, I don't know.
At that 10 spot, I really actually do believe it. The reason why I was trying to say earlier, I don't want to give you that 10 pick in this bet is that I think that if he reaches 10,
because the Eagles let a lot of defensive linemen walk.
And they also love Georgia guys.
They do. And you know what they don't do? Historically, outside of one guy, Jalen Reagor, they don't draft skill players in the first round.
They draft a lot of linemen.
A lot of linemen. So, look, with this whole thing, and I think, we spent enough time on Jalen Carter. This is my opinion. Okay.
I want to get to back to the Kirby
the question from everybody. What's that?
I'm just saying to get back to the Kirby stuff that we originally started talking about.
Well, which goes to my point about this Kirby Smart thing. Mm-hmm. So Kirby Smart was asked today if he's lost control of his team. Joe, this is what media members asking questions like that, okay, to Kirby Smart, if he's lost control of his team, is why Pat McAfee is having Aaron Rodgers on his show in a tank top and a golden chain, breaking the biggest NFL news that we've had in probably 2 years when it comes to free agency at minimum. And maybe even maybe since Tom Brady left and went to Tampa, the biggest off-field news has been this Aaron Rodgers. The simple fact that the media is asking him the question if he's lost control of a team when he's won back-to-back national titles. He's 8-2 in the last 10 postseason games. He's 81-15 in his head coaching career. He's 37-3 in the last 3 seasons that he's coached, which, by the way, is 13-1. One of those years obviously being a COVID year, which obviously could have been more like 40-3, which would be 14-1 in 3 years on average, which is absolutely ridiculous. What has he lost control over? Stetson, they talk about these 9 players arrested. Stetson Bennett and Jalen Carter are technically gone. They had declared for the draft. Stetson Bennett's not coming back. He's not on the team anymore. So how is that Kirby's fault that Stetson Bennett, a guy that's going into the draft and is no longer part of the Georgia program, he got arrested? How is that Kirby's fault in the drunken disorderly? How is it Kirby's fault that a staff member literally was racing somebody or driving at a high rate of speed and killed a Georgia player? And then his main player, his massive superstar, and Jalen Carter got arrested. That's not on him. Jalen Carter's going to the draft. He had already announced he's not a part of Georgia's team anymore. One player then got kicked off for doing something silly. So you mean to tell me what you really are trying to tell me is that you have 6 players arrested in the last 14 months. It's not that bad. You know what else that really irks me? Did we ask Nick Saban these questions when Eli Ricks got arrested for speeding and smoking pot inside of a car when the police pulled him over, and then he rolls the window down and there's smoke coming out? Did we ask Nick Saban about Pete Golding's incident when he got pulled over and arrested for a DWI and he had Taco Bell in his lap and he asked a cop if he wanted a bite of his burrito? Do we ask these questions about Rick Pitino? I thought you would laugh at that, but that's a true story.
That is pretty funny.
Questions about Rick? That's a true story. I'm serious. Do we ask guys about Rick Pitino, who's now at Iona Trailer, okay? And 10 people from the FBI got arrested in an FBI sting with cocaine and hookers. We don't talk about those things, but they want to go after Kirby. Why? He hasn't lost control, Joe. And you know what the truth is? There's a really good chance that they're going to be there at the end, and somebody's going to have to dethrone them, because they're going to be just as good defensively, if not better, in some areas. They had a true freshman last year at corner who was locked down. So what has he lost control over? Because guys got arrested. Here's an interesting stat for you. Did you know that 426 of these people's group have been arrested in the last 5 years? Would you consider that to be college football, NFL, NBA? If you had to pick all one of those three, of 426 people in one conference, one NBA or NFL, what sport do you think had that many people arrested in the last year?
It's the NBA, right?
It's not the NBA. It's the Congress.
Oh, I've seen that.
It's our Congress.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have more people in our Congress that have been arrested, 426 incidents within the last year. But yet we're worried about, as a society, 9 guys getting arrested for Georgia. 2 were already off the program. Lost control where?
Look, one thing I will say, I hate these leading questions that are made by journalists. Oh. No. The one asked by the media member who asked him, which I don't know who it was.
Guess where he works. Guess where he works.
Was it the Atlanta
Journal-Constitution? Bingo.
These leading questions suck. There's another way to ask this, of just what are your thoughts on the incidents that have happened throughout the offseason, not have you lost control of your program. That to me is very leading. I can't stand it when media members do this. And again, to your point, there's a reason why I think more and more people are attracted to programs like this, like McAfee, compared to getting their information from the traditional news source. However, I do not think that he has lost control. I don't. But 9 arrests in the last 14 months, and I move the math however you want, I don't think is a good number. I think that is concerning. They're going to be in a spotlight
on his team.
They're going to be in a spotlight.
Is Jalen Carter and Stetson Bennett?
There's still guys that he recruited, though. Those are guys. So the head coach's responsibility is development of the maturity of the young men on his team.
Stetson Bennett being in Dallas, knocking on heaven's door at 7 a.m. in the morning, is not Kirby Smart's player.
He obviously can't control those guys, but for the time that they spent in Athens and under this program, you think that you would instill some better logic and decision making on, especially a 25-year-old. I knew I was dumb when I was 22.
Ray Lewis.
Why are we just bringing up random guys? Like, that does nothing to do with
this. You know who in the 1980s and 1990s led the entire ACC Big East and college football in arrest? Take a guess, because I got it right here in my notes.
It was Ray Lewis?
No, it was Miami.
It was Miami, and they were very out of control.
They weren't. They weren't out of control. What I think the normal human being and the normal public sees is Oh, somebody got arrested.
Wait, how many arrests did Miami have? Did you say?
It was like over 120
in a how long a period of time?
In an 8 year span.
What was the yearly average though?
8. See a correlation?
I see that 8 and then 9. One's more than the other. One was considered to be you cannot give
him Jalen Carter and you cannot give him Stetson Bennett. I will not allow that.
They were still guys that he was.
Joe,
it's not like they're 3 years into their NFL careers.
If they would have played,
they're a month removed.
Okay, so if they're a month removed, if they would have played the day before both of those guys got arrested, would they have been on the team? No, because they declared.
Wait, I don't know why I got tripped up by the wording of that. Say that. So you're saying if they had done that, if they had played.
If they would have played on February 1st, after Jalen Carter had hired an agent, Stetson Bennett hired an agent, they wouldn't have been there. So if Georgia would have had a game on February the 1st, Jalen Carter and Stetson Bennett aren't playing for Georgia.
My point is that obviously when they're members of the team, they're not just locked in the locker room and expected not to leave or do anything. Like they're their own individuals. And Kirby's not going to sit there and monitor and make sure everyone does certain things. No, some coaches try to do this, but are not going to be able to hold their guys accountable. My point is that you are, and all these coaches preach this bullshit where they say, oh, I'm a molder of young men. That is what part of the responsibility is. That's what they sell to these parents is that
just because
they're showing up to become better young men. And so clearly 9 arrests is questionable.
But you're blaming Jalen Carter and you have no idea if he's innocent or guilty. His attorneys came out and said that he was not racing on the night that it happened, and you're blaming Jalen Carter and Kirby Smart.
Okay, even if we take the Jalen Carter one off then.
But do you have the facts? You have an attorney. So let me tell you something. Just about this whole logic. What you're doing, at least this is what I'm hearing you doing, is that you're saying he's guilty and now he has to prove his innocence. That's what I'm hearing you say. Okay, let me just give you a little news flash. You know why Brandon Miller's not arrested? The guard from Alabama. The detective in the case said that Brandon Miller blocked in the victims that ultimately got shot by a former Alabama player, right? That's what their whole thing was. He brought him the gun, he blocked him in, and allowed him to shoot him. That was what the detective said.
Okay.
Then his attorneys, 2 days after that fact, came out and said, we pulled video footage from the nightclub, and not only was Brandon Miller not blocking them in, he was in the parking lot. The door opens to his vehicle. A bag was grabbed, like an overnight bag was grabbed. The door was closed and Brandon Miller left. He did not know of the incident until the next morning when he had heard of what had happened. So by your logic, now hold on, Jalen Carter, his attorneys and his group said that did not happen to me. I was not racing. So now what you're saying is it's Kirby Smart's fault or he's losing control. It's his guys as an example of all of this when you have no idea and you have two sides of this story, Joe.
Okay, then remove the Jalen Carter one. I'm not saying that he's guilty. All I am saying is that is one of the incidents.
The number and the people that got arrested for everything else. TJ Finley at Auburn got arrested for not pulling over while on a moped going to practice. They arrested him for that. Joe, they arrested him for allegedly eluding the police. That is not that big of an offense. It just isn't. And Joe, I don't know how y'all do it in Rhode Island, but let me tell you how it goes down in the deep down South. Okay, flip this if you need to. When we win, we go out and do 3 things. We drink, we party, and we get down. I can't say it because we're about to be on TV, but you already know where I'm going with that.
Okay.
That is how elite athletes act. And in the same freaking token, we applaud Patrick Mahomes for being so drunk. Hold on, before you say a word. And then Tom Brady for being so drunk and throwing Lombardi trophies and giving a fan a Lombardi trophy and walking off. What's the difference?
But, okay, there's a difference between celebrating and being drunk and then doing something that breaks the law like driving while intoxicated or being drunk and disorderly.
If you want to get into legal semantics, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes.
We're not doing that. We're not doing this again. We're not doing this one again. We're not doing this bit again.
My point is you're saying that Kirby lost control over an incident.
I'm not saying. Wait. You're misunderstanding my argument. I'm not sitting here and I led into this. I'm not saying that Kirby has no control of his roster. I'm saying that there is concern for the fact that he has this many arrests. I said that they are red flags. That is my whole point. I am worried because is this telling of future problems down the line? That is a big number. Remove the Jalen Carter one. That's still 8 arrests. And also,
Joe,
you and I both played college football.
Southeastern Louisiana in 2008 had 22 players arrested. Was that a red flag when we won the Southland Conference?
No, but the other aspect of this, though, and you and I both played Division I football in much smaller football programs in towns than Athens.
You don't have to say smaller. You don't have to put me down like that.
Well, I also played FCS. But you know that oftentimes in these areas for athletes, a lot of arrests get, just go home, go back to your apartment. Guys don't get taken into jail for doing things. Guys get away with a lot of bullshit. I'm sure that number is a lot higher than 9. I'm sure that it is a lot higher. As much as people want to say that in instances like this, and I understand some of the examples you provided, that the police might hold them overly accountable, I argue the opposite. There's probably even more incidences of guys getting away with stuff because of the region that they're playing in and the local police allowing them to. There's probably a lot of stuff that we don't know about. I'm just saying that it is a concern.
It's not a concern, man. Joe, so let me ask you this question. All right. I wasn't going to use this, but can I checkmate you?
All right.
In 2010, 2011, how many Alabama players and the back-to-back national titles did Alabama have?
Arrested?
Yeah, arrested.
15.
You're damn close. 14.
Is that not a concern? That's a large number.
It's not, Joe. Do you know how many people are arrested a year?
We're talking about of a single team.
Joe, of 100 men, 100 men, 9 being arrested is below average. It's below average. When
you're a collegiate athlete, you need to hold yourself accountable. You need to hold your guys accountable. Those are aimless, random people.
Where you come from and where I come from are two completely different places, bud. It just is. It's different. Where these young men come from are different. And I don't want to get down a legal and a god dog political argument here, but being arrested in this country is a death sentence. It's a death sentence.
It is.
For so many people. Now, what are you going to do on this show in, let's just call it 7 months, when Jalen Carter goes to court and the police can't provide evidence? What are you going to do then?
But I never said on the show that I never said on the show that he's guilty.
Now, let me ask you this question. What are you going to do when they do that to Stetson Bennett? Because let me tell you something. As someone who's been in law, go ahead and try to produce a drunk while intoxicated. Go ahead and try to convict that.
My main point, my main takeaway is that I'm not saying that he's got no control, but it's still a red flag.
Go on. By the way, just throwing this out there, Nick would go on to win another 4 national titles. Was it a concern? Buddy, he literally, Tim Williams, a defensive end outside linebacker, got arrested with a pound's worth of marijuana and played on a Saturday night. He got arrested.
But the marijuana arrests, I think that you could agree with me, and especially me now being
not in 2009, 2010. Joe, rewind the clock 13 years ago in the deep down South when they were trying to crack down on drugs. You know how I know? I literally saw a team. Let me tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
My roommate in college was black. Okay. Was for 3 years. We left a Southeastern football game and got pulled over because he's driving. They pull him out of the car and they kept harassing, where's the weed? Where's the weed? There is no weed. The guy, by the way, is a pastor now. Okay. He's a pastor. Okay. Massive church, man of God. Okay. As I like to call him every time I see him. When I was in the car, they didn't pull me out. They didn't say a word to me. They asked me where the drugs were. And I said, there are no drugs. By the way, he's going to seminary next month. My point is in all of this, we have to put into context the situations. Yeah. We can't make blanket statements. We just can't make blanket statements and say to one another, oh, there's not arrest. Buddy, there's a lot of arrests at all these colleges. Now go poll all the rest of them. Now go look at all the rest of them. And what if there are more colleges that have more than what Georgia did? Okay, maybe you are onto something. What is the average of college athletes that get arrested in a year and a half?
Look, I understand where you're coming from with this, and I understand why you brought up that story and you added that context, because it is a very good point. It is a very good point that there are going to be police officers with very negative intent, very negative intentions. And I'm not saying that these guys are bad guys. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. And I'm sure that you could maybe pull examples, as you're trying to say here, where their arrests some of these Georgia guys' arrests might not be what we thought that they were. But I still do think that the ones that those guys are held accountable for the actions, like guys getting DUIs, instances like that, coaches need to be held accountable for trying to keep their guys, or not keep their guys, trying to help their guys mature. That is an important part of being a head coach. It's not like they're a frat guy. That we used to have the police used to come in at the beginning of every at the end of every summer training camp, the Narragansett police, and they used to come in and talk to us. And the one thing that they used to always say is that you guys aren't in Sigma Pi. You know, you guys are a football team. You guys are held to a higher standard.
They aren't your parents, and they're not your parents. They can't tell you what to do. Joe,
I know they're not, but you would think that with all the time that you spend in a football program, you're not just focused, because that's what I said earlier, is that's the selling point all the time by these coaches to parents.
This isn't church camp. Joe,
I know, but you're not supposed to just guys are supposed to just come and play football. He's supposed to come and also get an education.
Your moral compass, though. That's your moral compass.
And that's a bad thing that I think guys are supposed to get an education and become better people.
But what I also know in my time in law is people get arrested, and it's not as big of a deal as you bring it up to be. Not everybody deserves.
I'm not saying that getting arrested is a big deal, though.
Right now, let me put this to you right now. You ready? If the girl in this Georgia incident, the staffer, were still alive, she would be arrested, and not James Carter. They're looking for somebody to arrest, and that's why he's arrested. Kirby having these arrests, Joe, how can he lose control and it be concerning when this started when he's winning back-to-back national titles? Some coaches that are GOATs, that are just one of some of the greatest of all time. Your team just had one and couldn't win a national title. Mac Brown only has one national title. He is one of the best that we've ever seen before. There are so many coaches that have not won national titles that are amazing. And you're saying he's losing control while he's winning? And you know what all this is going to do? Let me tell you what this ultimately is going to do. What the Atlanta Journal-Constitution doesn't understand is now you just gave Kirby more ammo and more chips. It's going to be like Tortitos in his locker room saying, they said they think that you don't belong, that you're nothing but a bunch of thugs. That's what they're going to say. Go ahead. But you know what you're not doing? Why is Rick Pitino having a job? 10 people were arrested in one day. And
good question.
Allegedly now it's not concerning. Believe
put out double standards.
Believe put out the video. There are double standards. Believe put out the video today from the older gentleman. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. And he goes, is Rick Pitino a good coach? Yes. Did he do all these things? Yes. Is he one of the legends? Yes. Does he have a bad moral compass? Also, yes. But what we don't do is talk about how crappy of a human being Rick Pitino is, and we worry about Kirby Smart's guys, which, by the way, I might add, he has 95 more men than what Rick Pitino ever did.
Yes,
Guys,
that is correct.
So again, I mean, I can't fathom or get over the fact that people are blaming Kirby. And Joe, here's the truth. Here's something you can clip since we're having this debate. He's past Nick, and there are people in the media that will defend Nick, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who will defend Nick Saban to the ends of the earth. By the way, you know what they should have asked? And we didn't even get to this. You know what they should have asked? Hey, Kirby, when were you notified that the NCAA is reviewing you for recruiting violations? Sources.
Are there really?
Yes.
What are the recruiting violations?
Don't know.
So I find it kind of funny that
I'll tell you. Allegedly tampering.
I find it kind of funny we sat here the whole time on different sides of the table and you defending Kirby, and then now we're also bringing up that he apparently also had recruiting violations.
But those are two completely different scenarios, right? Like, Kirby, here's what the ultimate question to Kirby should have been today. You ready? Mm-hmm. Kirby, have you been notified by the NCAA that they're going to serve you with a notice of allegations of recruiting violations?
They should have asked that.
They should have.
And I'm curious on when that is going to be reported.
They're not going to. Because, again, Joe, it doesn't – like – and let me tell you something. Georgia's going to get hit with a recruiting violation. Slap on the wrist. What can you do in today's NIL world? That's more pressing news than with a discussion that me and you just had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean – and we didn't even get to the Big-12 merger.
We'll talk about that. Let's talk about that on Saturday. I think that's a good topic for Saturday.
Okay. Brian Fondo, buddy, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, hey, Blake, you called me out and said, Brian – you drug it out.
I knew you were a Southeastern homer and you should be. What?
I don't know.
When was this?
This
last show?
I have no. I have no idea.
What?
Maybe talking about a guy that named Brian that covers Notre Dame. I don't know.
Okay. So where? A couple of shows ago is what he says. Was it this show? Was it the other? Was it AYS?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Hell, way to end the show.
Joe, you know this. We have like 300,000 views and downloads a month. Yeah. I can't remember one comment.
I don't even remember what I said at the beginning of the show.
I don't either.
All right. We'll see what happens with Georgia.
We'll see.
Nothing. Look, here's my last thought on it. Nothing's probably going to happen. They're probably going to go win another national championship at some point.
I think that they're going to win the East.
They're
going to win the East again, and then we're going to sit here and have the conversation. What were we talking about?
I think that ultimately you and I have a different viewpoint on what a head coach's role is, and maybe mine is a little bit more smaller program.
No, you know what?
I like my head coach, Coach Jim Fleming.
Would he have cut you if you got arrested?
I don't know if he would have cut me, but I definitely would have been suspended. We didn't have anyone get arrested.
These guys hadn't been suspended.
We didn't have anyone get arrested. The only negative instance that I know of, unless I'm like completely forgetting anything, I told you one off air beforehand that was before I got there, and that was my head coach's first year, and it was the previous regime's roster of a bunch of guys getting into a fight with a bunch of frat guys. But when I was on the team for the 4 years, that's so cliche, by the way.
That's so Rhode Island.
Yes.
You.
The only instance I know of is I had one teammate and they were suspended, and then they were allowed to come back onto the team, was driving and then was speeding and then tried to get away from the police, and then had like an airsoft gun in his car. So the police overreacted. So that's like a completely different circumstance. I don't know what ended up actually happening with that, but like I never saw anyone that had a teammate that we came to practice like, oh my God, so-and-so got arrested. That never happened.
So I've been to a college football practice and been a part of a team that where the night before we all went out after winning and 22 of us got arrested.
What did you guys do to get arrested?
We beat the kind of the same scenario.
Oh, you told me about this.
Yeah, it's kind of the same scenario that you're discussing.
But that's like, but that's the thing though, is that was one singular incident where it happened. All 20 of those happened in one instant. So let's remove the 22 number. There was one negative instant, essentially. Correct?
Well, let me just say this. Only 10 guys got arrested at the scene, and it just escalated. Okay? So,
Sounds very football team-esque.
Yeah, and it escalated. And, I mean, Joe, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a reason that I had this scar on my hand.
I couldn't see it because it was the color was too blown out, but
let's see. No, it's still too blown out. But my middle knuckle, you see how it kind of bulges out more than the rest? And then this one kind of, I mean, you know.
I feel like I don't know. I mean, we don't need to keep going down the rabbit hole. I feel like fighting is different than a DWI, though. Like, that's because, like, drunk guys get aggressive, but, like, you can't get behind the wheel of a car. Like, that's just, like, the biggest character red flag for me is guys who do stuff like that. I don't know.
We'll talk about the merger on Saturday.
Yep.
Good show, man.
Good show.
All right. Peace.